Hello, everybody. Welcome into a finally new episode of Garbage Time Presents the MMA show. Trying to get you in for some previews of UFC 270. All right, welcome everybody. As you may know, we have a third host with us from the Garbage Time Fantasy Football Podcast, JJ, who some of you may or may not know is also a huge MMA fan. So he has decided to join us and will, during the off season, probably be linking up with us quite a bit to just talk all things MMA. So we're gonna have to work you into that intro there, JJ.
Maybe I'll make an appearance in there. I can't compete
All
with
right.
Casey's puppy, though.
He steals the show for sure.
Really?
I mean, I wish we just cropped Casey out and just had it be the puppy. So awesome card coming up. You guys excited for UFC 270?
I am. Kicking your off with a bang.
Yeah. Finally, we have. I'll actually have some competition in fight pits, seeing as how I wreck Casey every week. Some interesting notes before we get started. So UFC 270, we got 13 fights, 2 title fights. 8 fighters are making their UFC debuts on Saturday. 6 fighters are negative 250 favorites or better. The biggest favorite and underdog of the night, you have Ilia Topuria at negative 590 and Charles Jourdain at plus 410. Closest odds of the night, you have Michael Morales at negative 128 and Trevin Giles at plus 104. So I'm gonna try not to be that guy that takes all the favorites, but sometimes that's just what you gotta do. They're favorites for a reason. Also, it's worth noting that all of these favorites were from FanDuel at about 9:30 this morning, so they may have moved a little bit depending, but that's just what we're gonna run with. Sound good to you guys?
Yeah. So are you betting fighters straight up now with the new betting stuff with Caesars in New York?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I finally get to bet some fighters. So I'll throw in a little bit there, but I also did a DFS lineup as well. I'm just really excited to not have to do strict DFS lineups because it is so hard with MMA.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're gonna get, and someone comes in and gets a quick finish that you didn't expect, it just completely flips it the other way. I feel like NFL, you can kind of make up the gap a little bit better.
I agree.
So, without further ado, the kicking off the night in the early prelims, we got a flyweight women's fight. We got Kay Hansen at negative 260 versus Jasmine. Should have made JJ say this one. Jazu Devicius.
Sounds right.
Fight was supposed to happen last week, I think, or the week before, but it was postponed for unknown reasons. There were quite a few fights that were supposed to happen last week that got pushed to this card, so a part of me feels like the UFC was just trying to balance out the cards and fill this one up. But I have no proof of that. So, what are your thoughts on this one, guys?
Interesting matchup. Hansen is only 22 and just kind of breaking into the scene, up and comer. I don't know how you guys typically do this. Do you typically just make your pick right outright and just kind of work through that?
Or? It's up to you, really, man. So, yeah. So we'll add our insight as well. So whatever you choose to say, we'll pick something else to say. So it's up to you. We just kind of go with the flow.
All right. So Hansen is more technical, like a jiu-jitsu fighter. And Jasmine, we'll just call her Jasmine, is more of a striker. So one thing that was interesting to me, Hansen is actually moving up for this fight. She had fought at strawweight beforehand. She's now moving up a weight class. And the height and reach is a big advantage for Jasmine. So I actually went with the underdog in this one and picked Jasmine to beat Hansen.
All right.
Okay.
Casey, what do you got?
So on one hand, you have Hansen. Well, first of all, both of these fighters don't have the most experience when you look at their records. I mean, Hansen is 7-4, and then Jasmine is 6-1. Jasmine does have the better record, but again, both don't have huge experience fighting. Hansen is coming off of a decision loss to McKenna back in November 2020. She did originally debut back in June of 2020 in a third-round submission win over Frey. You got Jasmine, who is making her debut. As you've already stated, she's the underdog. But some of her stats kind of lean me towards her a little bit. I know it's kind of hard picking somebody that's making their debut, but I mean, she has 4.67 strikes landed average per minute compared to 4.33 absorbed, and she averages 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see, I guess. But I'm picking Jasmine.
Ooh, 2 Jasmines. And all right, so like Casey alluded to, so Hansen came out, won her UFC debut in 2020 by armbar. So she does have the submission skills. 4 of her 7 wins were by submission. Jasmine sits in 1. Won on Dana White's Contender Series back in September. So Jasmine does like to strike, but it's usually always to set up grappling and wrestling, where I think Tay Hansen might actually have a little bit of an advantage here. So I went Hansen on this, and I think she could pull off a submission.
Yeah. And Hansen does have 100% takedown defense, but I think that stat is kind of inflated based on her limited time in the UFC so far.
Yeah, I think if Hansen can get her down, she can submit her. I just think only thing that pushed me over on Jasmine is just the size difference. And my pick I could flip flop it when I see the weigh-ins and how they look, but
Yeah.
I just think she's gonna be a little bigger. She actually, I mean, just being older too sometimes helps. And she's an older woman, so I don't know. I just think she's gonna get it done. Decision.
Well, and I think when you see fighters moving weights, like bumping up, or like it always kind of gives you pause. I can definitely say that like it's way more of a red flag for me to see a fighter drop down than move up. Especially when it's not like a crazy jump. Like if it's from like middleweight up to light heavyweight, then it's like, all right, that's pretty legit. But straw weight to flyweight's what, 10 pounds, I think?
Yeah. 115, 125.
Yeah, so I mean, Hansen basically just gets to drink water the whole time. But there is a pretty sizable reach advantage. Jasmine will have 5 inches arm advantage, so that'll definitely be a close one. And like we said in the beginning, these fighters that don't have a ton of experience yet are definitely tough to predict. Next up, we have a men's lightweight match. We have Matt Frivola at -192 versus Genario Valdez at +154. Frivola is on a 2-fight losing streak. Got TKO'd by McKinney back in June. Half of his wins come by decision. Valdez got a contract on the Contender Series in October with a second-round KO. 7 of his 10 wins are by KO. So what do you guys think here?
Casey, you want to lead or you want me to go?
I'll take lead on this one, I guess. So, yeah, as you said, 7 knockouts out of 10 wins for Valdez. He's obviously undefeated. All of his wins have come by early stoppage because he also has 3 submissions. Again, making his UFC debut, which I already kind of stated is kind of tough because you don't know how people are going to perform at that kind of level with all those cameras and just the hype of it. But I mean, he averages 10.47 takedowns per 15 minutes. I don't know how accurate that is, but that seems like a pretty inflated stat to me. He does have 6 first-round finishes. Favola, like you said, is on that 2-fight losing streak. His last win was in October of 2019 over Pena, and that was by decision. So I'm going to go with Valdez on this one, and I think that he may get another early stoppage here.
I agree with Casey. Valdez's last 5 fights, knockout, rear naked choke, knockout, rear naked choke, knockout. Favola has not looked good lately. And really, the Matt Serra gym has not been doing well lately. Weidman has been retired. Just saw Ali Quinta get whooped by Bobby Green recently. The whole gym, really the only one that's relevant right now is Aljamain Sterling, and we know how that went in his last fight. So,
and we know how it's going, Joe.
Yeah. So I definitely like Valdez, young he's only a year younger, but up and comer. On a big win streak. I think he handles Favola and wins his debut for sure.
Yeah, I took Valdez here as well. All the same reasons. I think if the fight becomes more technical and you see it start entering like the 3rd round, it would definitely go towards Favola. But in that first, 2nd round, I mean, that's going to be Valdez's time to shine right there. Next up, we have a women's strawweight fight. Silvana Juarez at plus 122 versus Vanessa Dumapolos at negative 150. Both fighters coming off of losses. Juarez got submitted by armbar to Jourdain in October. That ended her 3-fight win streak. 6 of her 10 wins come KO. She is taking this fight on 2 months' notice. It's not super short notice. I mean, it's still like 6 to 8 weeks. Demopoulos was lost by decision to JJ Aldrich in her UFC debut. So what do you guys got on this one?
I'll let JJ take it.
I picked Gomez in this one. I think she just got caught in her last fight, and Demopoulos is a submission fighter, but I think with the way that Gomez Juarez's last fight went, she's going to be looking out for that, especially. So she's also got a 5.5, 6-inch reach advantage. So I think she's going to stay outside and try and outpoint her and try and keep it on the feet. So she finished 8 of her last 10 fights. She finished 8 of her last 10 victories, I should say. So I just think she's a better athlete, I think, and I just see her win the fight. I don't know. Could go either way, but.
You went with Juarez, you said?
I did.
Right?
Okay. I did.
Right. Oh, boy. I don't know. It's tough. Not a huge not a huge amount of fight experience between these 2 fighters, again. But that's what you get with these early prelims anyways. So I'm just going to go off my gut here, which hasn't served me well in the past, but they're both coming off of a loss. They don't have a ton of experience in the UFC. God. And these are usually the picks that make a difference between who wins and who loses each week. That's what drives me crazy. It's not the main card fights. Hell. I'll go with, just to kind of play devil's advocate, I'll go with Vanessa.
Right,
what are you thinking, Ryan?
All right, so like I said, I mean, both of them are coming off of losses to pretty legit fighters. Juarez got armbarred by Jourdain. Demopoulos decision to Aldrich. It's worth noting that Demopoulos also fought Lupita back in the LFA days. And I say back as if it was forever ago, but it was actually just last March. And she lost that by majority decision. But I actually went with Demopoulos here. I think she's the better striker, and I think she's going to get the win here. I feel like I'm going to regret that pick, but that's what I'm going for.
Well, that's how I feel too. So don't feel bad. But
I feel the same way, and I picked Juarez. So
yeah, so
one of the main
Disappointing.
reasons one of the main reasons I picked Vanessa though is just because she is her last fight was in August of 2021, whereas was October 2020. So I kind of gave the benefit of the doubt to Vanessa just because she has a more recent fight, even though they again both had their debuts. So
all right. Next up, we got a men's bantamweight fight. Tony Gravely at a pretty moderate favorite at negative 250 versus Saman. That sounds right. Oliveira at plus 198. Gravely 21-7, lost his last fight by second round KO. 2-2 in the UFC. He won on Dana White's Contender Series back in 2019. He was KO'd once, submitted once, and then he won one by KO and one by split decision. Oliveira somehow got a contract after Dana White's Contender Series where he won by split decision. You usually don't see that. He is on a 5-fight win streak, though. Has 11 wins by submission. What do you guys think about this?
you want to go first, Casey? Or you want me to go?
yeah, I can go on this one. Let's see here. So looks like you said, Oliveira's on that 5-fight win streak. 11 submissions is quite a bit, honestly. That's pretty impressive. So clearly, Oliveira has some ground game. At 18-3, he has a decent amount of experience. I mean, both of these fighters do. I think Gravely is 21-7. So
Yep.
this should be a decent fight, I feel like. Oliveira averages the 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, which is kind of lines up with his submission average there because he likes to take people to the ground. He averages right around 3 strikes landed per minute compared to right around, again, 3 strikes absorbed per minute. Making his debut, though. Man, a lot of debuts. I don't know. I am going to go with Gravy on this one. I think Gravely's going to win.
I agree. Though I'm scared because Gravely's 21-7. 5 of his 7 losses are by submission. So it's kind of been his Achilles heel in his fight career.
Mm-hmm.
And like Casey said, Oliveira has 11 submissions. Gravely is training at American Top Team now. So I think, obviously that's a gym known for dominant strikers. I think he's going to try and keep this one standing. And he's a pretty good wrestler. So I think he's going to rely on his wrestling to try and stay on his feet and try and outstrike Oliveira, who's been pretty much exclusively a ground fighter. He hasn't had a TKO in 5.5 years, so he's really turned to his ground game as his primary strategy. So,
yeah.
I think Gravely hopefully doesn't get caught.
Yeah, so kind of adding to what you said about Gravely having somewhat of a ground game, he does average about 5.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. So clearly he does have some kind of ground game to where he's comfortable. So maybe he can use that to his advantage as kind of a defense against Oliveira. Yeah. But, his takedown defense is 50%. It's kind of, it's all right, I guess, but I don't know. We'll see.
He's a good wrestler. He just sometimes gets himself into places he shouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah, so kind of like what JJ said, the only thing that concerns me about Gravely is, like he said, he's been submitted 5 times. 4 of those times he's been choked out. And what does Oliveira like to do? He likes to find your neck and grab onto it. I think technical-wise, striking-wise, Gravely's better. Oliveira too will give up position just to try to get a choke, so you might see him give up, going on his back to kind of work from there. I'm just hopeful that Gravely's wrestling manages to nullify that. Oliveira also has shown in the past having difficulty keeping people on the ground when he gets them there. And Gravely's working with American Top Team strikers, but he also is a solid wrestler, so I think he should be able to get back to his feet when he wants to. So as long as he can avoid a freak kind of him lashing onto his net, he should be good. So I went Gravely here as well. Next up, we have a men's welterweight bout to finish off the early prelims. We have Michael Morales at -128, the favorite, versus Trevin Giles at +104, the closest betting line of the night.
One maybe.
Did I miss one? Who did I miss?
Pete Rodriguez and the Australian.
Oh man. Well, how about you take us through that?
Wow, Ryan, skipping ahead.
I know. I got so excited for that Trevin Giles one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is the last one off the early prelims. It's Jack Della Maddalena versus Pete Rodriguez.
Oh, that kicks off the prelims, but we can do that one.
So yeah, that's the first fight on the prelims then. This should be an absolute street fight. Pete Rodriguez is 4-0. All 4 of his fights are by knockout. And Jack is an absolute brawler. He has an Andrei Arlovsky nose, who also is a brawler. Or I just said he's a brawler, but they're both brawlers. And this is his both their debut. And Jack just came off the Contender Series, I believe. So I think it's a coin flip. I think they'll probably get in a firefight. This could definitely be fight of the night for sure. And I picked the Australian to win.
Yeah, so kicking off the prelims, another thing that was a big note for me is I think Rodriguez is taking this on like 2 weeks notice or something like that, because Alves pulled out with an injury.
That's always tough.
Definitely, if you're able to make a bet, don't bet for this one to go the distance. You probably won't win much money, because that's probably pretty heavily favored. It is scary though, because clearly both of these guys can end a fight at any moment. Jack was the eternal MMA welterweight champion before hopping over to Dana White's Contender Series and getting on there. So he has been in a title fight before, although it wasn't with the UFC. And for him, it's kind of impressive because he lost his first 2 professional MMA bouts back to back, and now he's just been on 10-fight tear, with 8 knockouts. So he's trying to just cruising along. So I went with Jack on this one. And as far as betting lines go, Jack is coming in at a heavy favorite at -340. Pete Rodriguez, pretty moderate underdog at +260. And this is at welterweight.
Yeah, I went with old Jack too. I just think he has a little bit more experience. I mean, 4-0 is good, obviously. You're technically undefeated. But being on a 10-fight win streak and being at 10-2 is also, I just think it's the next level of fighting. So I went with the more experienced fighter here.
All right. So now we'll hop back to the headliner of the early prelims card, Michael Morales versus Trevin Giles. Although I should have this order messed up. I know the UFC changes their card order all the time.
On ESPN, it's Gravely and Oliveira at match 10, Jack versus Pete Rodriguez match 9, and Morales and Giles at match 8.
Okay. Yeah, so the UFC website and then ESPN, it's probably the ESPN one's probably more accurate. What do they have up after the Jack one?
After Jack is Morales and Trevin Giles.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's Barcelos and Henry.
Okay, we'll go with the ESPN schedule because that's probably what they're going to roll with. I should have looked at that.
God.
This will be Giles' welterweight debut. He did lose his last fight by TKO in July. He's 3-3 in the UFC since he returned. I think he debuted a while before that. Took a layoff to, I think he was going into law enforcement or something like that. 3-3 since then. Morales is 12-0. This will be his UFC debut after fighting on the Contender Series in September. 9 of his 12 wins have come by KO. I think in a rare moment, I'm going to take the guy making his debut. I'm going to take Michael Morales here. Giles just hasn't been the same since he's returned after that layoff. Hasn't really been performing up to what people thought they would. And like I said at the start of the show, it's always kind of a red flag for me when I see someone moving down weight divisions, especially after a KO loss. So I went Michael Morales here.
Look what just happened to Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah. Like, same situation.
Yep. Yeah. He got rocked.
I agree with Ryan. Though it's weird picking someone born in 1999. Makes me feel really old.
Right.
Yeah, he's 12-0. 9 of his 12 wins by knockout. I think the UFC wants him to be a star. He's fresh off the Contender Series, another debut guy. So I just think he's gonna make a statement here coming in versus Giles. I think he can clip him and knock him out. I think he beats him up in the first round, knocks him out in the second round. That's my prediction. So I want Morales as well.
It looks like we are all in agreement for the second fight in a row.
All right.
Though I'm a little worried. I'll just throw this out there. Giles has 5 submissions, so I'm a little worried that the veteran could take the rook down and tap him out. So
yeah.
We could go 1-3 there, but I'm cheering for the up and comer.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan, I cut you off.
No, you're good. Next up, you said the next fight ESPN has is the Barcelos fight.
Yep.
So you have Raoni Barcelos, the second biggest favorite on the card at -500. So if you're gonna pitch him for betting, you're probably gonna have to parlay it with something or try to adjust the outcome, or else you're not gonna really get anything. Versus Victor Henry at +260. This is happening at bantamweight. Barcelos was 5-0 in the UFC before his most recent loss to Valev by majority decision. One judge ruled it a draw. That's a tough fight to hold against him. He did lose the first round, but in the second round, he did drop Valev twice. I think he gassed himself out trying to finish him. One judge did score that round at 10-8. It probably should have been scored at 10-8 across the board, but MMA is really tough with their 10-8 rounds. They don't really have a set standard as to what justifies the 10-8. 8 of his 16 wins come by KO. And then you have Victor Henry making his UFC debut, LOSF Bantamweight Championship in October. He's never been finished. Pretty even on his path to victory. 6 KOs, 8 submissions, and 7 decisions. But I think Barcelos gets back in the win column here. I think that Valev was kind of like a fumble. I think he's going to learn from it and bounce back and win this one.
Casey, you want to go?
All right.
Nice job being prepared.
Just give me a second here.
I can go real quick. I'll just say that.
Well, I'm looking at some of the stats right now and just kind of taking a look. But
Henry is a great value brand version of Clay Guida, so interesting matchup. Savvy veteran coming from another fighting organization, but Barcelos is that much favored for a reason. Obviously, has a solid reputation in the UFC. Was a really big up and comer. So the last fight was kind of a shock that he lost, but those Russians are tough to put away. So I think he bounces back here. Henry will be tough. I think this could definitely go to a decision. Obviously, Henry is seasoned, but I think Barcelos will do enough to get the nod. So I went with the Brazilian in this one.
So, JJ, do you think, as far as the DFS lineup, do you think it's safe to say Barcelos might not pay off what his salary probably is?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
What he's in the 9,000s, right? If I'm remembering
Yeah,
right.
he's got to be. Yeah, he's got to be.
He may be the most expensive guy on the.
Yeah, 9,300.
Yeah. So I mean, he could put him away. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Henry's organization. I don't know how credentialed it is and how good the fighters are over there. But I mean,
You said he's never been finished?
Nope.
So all 5 of his losses have been by decision then, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I know he's coming from a different fighting organization, but I don't know. I'll go with Barcelos. That's fine. I think it's going to be a good fight, though.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that of those 5 losses, 2 of them were by split decision. So he could probably honestly easily be, 23 and 3,
Right.
So now the headline of the prelim, you got the biggest favorite and biggest underdog of the card. You have Ilia Topuria at negative 590 versus Charles Jourdain at plus 410. Topuria is 11-0, 3-0 in the UFC, 2 back-to-back first-round finishes. His most recent being a convincing round 1 KO of submission specialist Ryan Hall. Jourdain is 3-1 in the UFC, debuted back in 2019. I don't know exactly how late, but I know it was a pretty late notice fight, like a week or 2 weeks ago. It was put on because Ivolov had to withdraw. I think that definitely ties into Topuria being such a heavy favorite. I think he'd be a heavy favorite even if Jourdain had a full camp. This is Jourdain's first time being an underdog in his last 4 fights, even though in those last 4 fights he's gone 2-1-1. Yeah, I'm going to take Topuria. I think it's a no-brainer. He's that big of an underdog of a favorite for a reason.
Yeah, and taking a fight on one week's notice isn't the easiest thing to do, no matter how well you stay in shape. I mean, you need the time to prepare for your opponent, and I don't know. You can never trust that, a week's notice. So Topuria, definitely a solid decision, I think.
I'm going to follow suit. 11-0, 10 of 11 finishes. I think he can put him away. Honestly, he's an up-and-comer. And I'm pretty excited about this to see him fight. I was really disappointed that Ivolov had to back out.
That would have been a banger.
Because they're both undefeated, both nasty. I was really looking forward to that fight. So, but I think the Matador gets it done. Probably finishes him too. I mean, he's 7 of his 10 finishes are by submission, and 2 fights ago, Charles Jourdain got submitted by Julian Juicy J. Arosa, and no disrespect to him, but I don't think he's the pedigree fighter of Topuria. So, yeah, 3-0 on this one too.
All right. So kicking off the main card, we made it. We're onto the main card. We got Rodolfo Vieira at moderate favorite, negative 250 versus Wellington Turman at plus 198. This is happening at middleweight. Vieira, BJJ specialist, submitted Dustin Stoltzfus in the 3rd round. All 8 of his wins have been finishes, 7 of those being submissions. Wellington coming off a split decision win over Sam Alvey in August. 2-3 in the UFC. He's never been submitted, so that's worth noting. And he also has 7 submission victories and then another 4 KOs. So what do you guys got here?
I'll let you take this one, JJ.
I picked Vieira. He is the favorite. I don't know what to make of this fight. I don't know what they're going to do. My gut tells me they're going to stand and strike, which makes me nervous for Vieira. But I've seen Turman fight, and I've not been that impressed by him. I think Vieira's more physical, bigger and stronger. So I think if it does go to the ground, I think he could overpower him and win that BJJ battle. So I made the pick of Vieira, but I'm not confident in it. And this is closer than I think the odds show.
It's closer than it should be because when you get two guys that are decent on the ground for some reason, they want to stand up and fight, even though Vieira will have a huge advantage in the grappling department, but Wellington might have just enough pedigree on the ground to keep Vieira from doing it, even though he should do it. But let's hope. What do you got, Casey?
I'm going to pick the opposite just to be that guy and just go with Turman, honestly.
And that's why you lose every week.
Listen, someone's got to change it up, okay? We can't all have the same picks here.
What's your reasoning for going Turman?
Well, Vera's 8-1. Turman is 17-5. Turman is clearly a more experienced fighter as far as the number of fights. He has 7 submissions, and Vera also has 7 submissions. So that tells me that, perhaps, they can that will basically end up negating each other. So maybe this will end up turning into a stand-up game. I don't know, but Turman does have 100% takedown defense, and when you compare that to Vera's 5.77 takedown average per 15 minutes, that may be a factor.
Are you gonna hit us with some Joe math? Are you gonna combine those and then divide it by 2, and that's how many takedowns it will be?
No.
So next up, we got a men's bantamweight fight. You got Cody Stamann, underdog at +164 versus Syed Nurmagomedov. You'd think, with how popular Khabib is, I would know how to say the last name.
Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
No relation, I don't believe, but the last name is the same. Stamann is 19-4-1. He is on a 2-fight losing streak. Lost to Jimmy Rivera and Merab Dalvishi. Not much of a finisher. 11 of his 19 wins by decision. Saeed lost to Barcelos, who's also on this card, with a round 1 by decision, but then he bounced back with a round 1 KO over Mark Striegel. 3-1 in the UFC, 2 by KO, 1 by split decision. Saeed's striking is just nuts. I love it. It's really good. I think in that loss, he got a little bit too into the spinning and all that kind of stuff, and facing someone as technical as Barcelos that's going to bite you. He also has a 5.5-inch reach advantage, so I think he can stay away from Cody's wrestling quite a bit. I think he can keep it at a distance. So I think Saeed keeps it at a distance and pits him apart.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a 71% takedown defense. So, talking about staying away from Stamann or however the hell you pronounce it. And his ground game, I think he's going to come out on top on this one.
Yeah, I got Nurmagomedov too. ESPN lists Cody Stamann as a striker, which I don't agree with. If he does try
all of his striking is to get the double.
He's just gonna dive at his legs. He could get caught with something crazy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Nurmagomedov stays hot and Stamen loses his third in a row, and potentially this could be a fight on the way out of the UFC. I don't know. He did some good things before, though, but
I think people that don't know a ton are going to see Nurmagomedov and think heavy grappler, all that nonsense. It's not that at all. So definitely don't expect that.
That's how you can tell they're not related.
Yeah. Literally polar opposites as far as fighting style. So full disclosure, these next 3 fights I have bounced back and forth on, like all day long.
It's so tough. So tough.
I'll probably bounce back and forth all day tomorrow and all day Saturday. But I'm gonna have to lock in my pits tonight, so I'm just gonna have to roll with it.
And no takesy backsies.
No take backsies.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, can't they do weigh-ins 2 days before? I mean, I know it kind of beats the point of a weigh-in, right? It kind of takes it away, but it definitely helps seal those weigh-ins, especially when you have a massive welterweight like Michael Pereira, who is coming in at negative 310 versus Andrew Filio at plus 240. Like I just said, Pereira is a huge welterweight, has struggled with weight cuts in the past. Definitely can gas out. He is on a 3-fight win streak. He beat Imedov, Chaos Williams, and Nico Price. Personally, I thought Chaos Williams won that, and it had nothing to do with the fact that I had him in my DFS lineup. But Pereira frustrates me so much when I watch him because he would probably be so good if he didn't. But part of what makes him exciting is the bat flips and all that crazy nonsense.
Yeah.
If he sprints to the ring, he's losing. So if you see that walkout and he's running, just go put all of your money on Filial and call it a day. Also, I mean, Pereira's so big, but Filial has shown that he can get knockouts. He's on a 4-fight win streak, 3 coming by first round KO. So the dude clearly has punching power. I do think Pereira respects that and dials that some of the craziness. Probably not.
Probably not.
The weigh-in's going to be huge, and I think I'm going to regret this, but Filiao is going to be my dog of the night. And
wow. Okay.
I'm going to take him to get the win in his debut. There's a reason they're giving him Michael Pereira for his debut fight.
Right.
He has a ton of experience in other promotions. So I'm going to take him.
Okay. All right. What are your thoughts, JJ?
Yeah, Fiallo is savage. He's knocked out 12 or 13 of his 14 fights. He knocked out UFC veteran James Vick in another organization in 2021. So he's a bad dude. I just I don't know. Pereira is such a tough debut fight, and
yeah, that.
I think Pierre edges him out. It'll be interesting to see if Fiallo comes out hot and swinging heavy at him, and I could see this being a fight of the night if it goes that way. So,
yeah,
I got Pereira, but like Ryan said, flip flop city here. Could go either way. I don't mind Ryan's pick at all, but I'm picking Pereira.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with JJ here. I'm gonna go with Pereira, like you said, Ryan. We'll see what he comes out and does. Whether he does a bunch of fancy, crazy shit that tires him out, or whether he dials it back and tries to be a little more technical. But I think Pereira pulls this one out.
All right. Next up, we have the fight that I am the most excited for. I know, right? How do I take this over the heavyweights? But I don't know why, but I am just pumped for this fight. So we have Brandon Moreno. I think this is the first time he's a favorite, matching up at negative 178 versus Deiveson Figueiredo at plus 144. Almost every fight fan will know. First bout ended in a draw. Probably should have been a Figueiredo win, but was deducted a point for a low blow. Some people think Moreno should have won that with the point deduction, but who knows? A second bout, Moreno got the third round submission, won that pretty convincingly, was up 18-20 on 2 judges' scorecards going into that third round. Oof. I love both of these fighters. I'm gonna hold off my pick another 30 seconds and let JJ do his.
He's stalling.
I don't know how this fight's gonna go. Obviously, if you're listening to Outside Noise, Figueiredo is super pissed about how the last fight went, and went from saying Moreno's a good guy to kind of saying he's an asshole and he's gonna take his head off. I believe he said yesterday or today. And he's posting pictures of himself with guns, and he's super jacked.
I haven't really been paying too much attention to the press coverage on this fight, so I didn't know that there is apparently some bad blood between the two now.
Moreno,
Yes,
doesn't really care.
There's a little bit of a bad story too, where Moreno and Henry Cejudo. Moreno helped Cejudo prepare for a fight, and then Moreno trained with someone else who was fighting Cejudo, and that person won. So now Figueiredo is training with Cejudo, and he's saying he's gonna knock off Moreno's head and give it to Cejudo.
Oh, so Cejudo kind of took that as like, you betrayed me type of thing, so now I'm gonna train your opponent.
It's just Cejudo. Cejudo just
We'll see.
Anything to stay in the spotlight, which I love it. I guess. Wait, did you even make a pitch?
No.
See, you're stalling too.
I wasn't. I was still going, and the conversation just led elsewhere. But
all right.
I think Figueiredo's going to come out hot. I think with his physique and as big as he is, with as much as he cuts, I think he is going to gas out eventually. If Moreno can weather the storm, I like Moreno to outpoint him and win a decision in this one. So I, as of now, have Moreno winning.
There you
but
go.
I don't feel great about it.
I guess that has given me time. So Moreno's super young. I think he's only like 20, which is
28.
28. Yeah, 28.
Your age.
Whereas Fiddy is, kind of the tail end of his career, 34. His biggest asset's power. Like JJ said, he's pretty much got to finish it early if he wants to get the win. Moreno's looked better each time they fought, whereas Figueiredo's looked worse. I hate it. I'm gonna say Moreno by decision, but I would probably throw I don't know what the odds are, but I'd throw 2 bets: Moreno by decision or Fiddy by first round KO. Because I honestly feel like that's the two ways this fight ends.
Yeah. I went with Moreno. I just feel like he's. What's that?
3-0. I did not think we would all be in it. I didn't.
Well, listen, I have tremendous amount of respect for Figueiredo. He's an amazing fighter. The first time these two fought was probably one of the best fights I've ever seen in my life. It was just absolutely insane, the amount of punches that they were putting out and taking. I just think that Brandon Moreno, he's been improving. He came out the last fight that he won, and you saw a lot of improvement. So if he keeps that course, I think he comes out on top on this one.
All right, a very tentative clean sweep, all in favor of Moreno.
Yep.
So that naturally probably means Fiddy will win in the first 10 seconds. But finally, the main event of the night: Francis Ngannou, the reigning champ, somehow the underdog at plus 122, versus Ciryl Gane, the favorite at negative 150. Gane 10-0, 6-0 in the UFC. Ngannou, I don't really need to go over his stats. Everybody knows. I'm still flopping back and forth on this one like crazy. What do you guys think?
This is tough. This is like a technical fighter like Ciryl Gane for being a heavyweight, right? And then you have Francis Ngannou, who will literally just put your lights out with one punch if he catches you. So it's really hard, but I think that if Ciryl Gane sticks to his technical striking, going in and out, avoiding punches. I think he could take this one as long as he avoids those power punches by Ngannou.
Yeah, that's the story of the fight. If it goes to decision, I think it's Gane. He's going to outpoint him most likely.
Yeah.
It's can he avoid the big shot from Ngannou? And there is a lot of implications in this fight because Ngannou is on record as saying, I think he has like 7 fights left in his UFC contract, and he said he won't fight again in the UFC under the current contract he has. So if he wins, it puts Dana White in a very tough position. If he loses, it's better for Dana White. So I'm cheering for Ngannou. I just can't pick against him. I love the guy. I just I'm picking Ngannou to clip him in the second round.
Oh, this is killing me. Yeah, so one of my biggest concerns is all the noise and distractions that Ngannou has. I mean, I think he's still focused, but got the contract dispute with the UFC. He's also putting his toes in the water about boxing Tyson Fury, so he's got that going on. All of that kind of goes down the drain, I think, if he loses this fight, kind of like JJ alluded to. And yeah, John's got to avoid those punches, but it's worth noting the only other guy in the heavyweight division that could hit as hard or harder than Francis Ngannou would be Derek Lewis. And Ciryl Gane was able to get in there and avoid the punches and get it done. I think Ngannou moves faster than Derek Lewis. It'll be harder to avoid. As Stipe found out, Ngannou definitely worked on his wrestling and his grappling abilities.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't know what would happen if this thing went to the ground, like, because I think Gane has 3 submissions out of his 10 wins, 2 or 3 submissions, and I know Ngannou has 1, but it's just because he beat the shit out of the guy so bad that he just was able to do whatever he wanted.
Right, like he was probably KO'd before he was even submitted. Like,
yeah,
I haven't even really seen Ciryl Gane on the ground yet, so I don't know what would happen if that occurred. So,
all right, I'm just gonna go with what I typed in. I'm not gonna switch. I'm probably gonna hate myself. I'm gonna go Ngannou here. I think he clips him and KOs him. I'm probably gonna be so mad at myself, but I just think every time there's this up and comer that like everyone thinks is gonna take out the champ, just it does not go that way.
Well, it should be, it should be noted that Ciryl Gane only is 10-0, so 10 fights compared to Ngannou's 19. I mean, there's definitely an experience gap there. So, I mean, that's also part of my concern, but I think that Ciryl Gane is just more technically sound. I mean, he's a heavyweight that kind of moves like a light heavyweight, you know what I mean?
Well, and it's worth mentioning, John, I can't remember how much, but he does have a lot of experience in Muay Thai. Was a professional in that before he hopped over to MMA. I'm almost convincing myself to pick John. Damn. But I think this is another one too that's either John by decision or Ngannou by KO. So Ngannou's never won a decision.
it's going to be interesting to see.
He's never been KO'd. So
it's going to be interesting to see how Ngannou comes out. Is he going to come out like he did versus Rosenstrike and just like charge across the ring and try and kill him? Or is he going to be patient because I don't know. He can gas out. Ngannou can gas out.
Yeah, and if he's too patient, like, I mean, I have full faith that John can hang back and pick him apart with leg kicks, just like he did Derek Lewis. Is the leg kicks that just completely wrecked him. And I don't even know if Ngannou's had to face anybody that could do that to him, like get enough space and be able to get those leg kicks in. Definitely going to be on the edge of my seat when this fight comes on. I hate my pick, but I don't know. It's so hard to pick against Ngannou.
I'm just cheering for Ngannou. Just I don't know if you guys heard his story on Rogan's podcast and all that.
Yeah, and I know there's some bad blood with the coach. John's current coach is Ngannou's former coach. They didn't end on good terms. So there's definitely a little bit of a bad story there. I think the whole teammate thing is a little blown out of proportion because I think John only was in the gym for like 3 weeks with Francis.
He's second guessing himself.
Dude, I'm gonna be staying up tonight, still second guessing my stuff.
The most technical fighter that Ngannou probably fought was Overeem, and that was probably the greatest knockout in UFC heavyweight history. So,
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see
I'll
if
go
Don's
that.
the real deal.
I think those leg kicks are going to be key, though. If Ciryl Gane is able to land those like he did against Derek Lewis there. So
the only problem though is if like you're throwing leg kicks and someone counters you and punches you in the face,
yeah,
you're gonna have a bad time. But anyway, everybody, those are our UFC 270 pits. As far as UFC news, I don't have a ton, except it does sound like there is a strong possibility of an upcoming Poirier versus Nate Diaz fight.
that'd be
What do
interesting.
you guys think of that? Do you guys have any early predictions or thoughts on that one?
No, there's been a lot of talk by Nate Diaz, so he's kind of been enticing Poirier. But I don't know. I think that would be an interesting fight. I think Poirier would pull it out, but
It's interesting to me because it would be at welterweight, and we've never seen Poirier at 170. It's been 145, 155. So how does he do up there?
with that extra weight.
Obviously, it's a Nate Diaz fight, so he's going to get punched in the face a ton and be bleeding everywhere and talking shit. And can he turn it around fast enough? Because every fight, he always turns it around at the end, but usually lately it's been too late. So
As I say, Nate Diaz doesn't lose fights; he just runs out of time.
Yeah, and I would love to see Diaz win because I can't imagine what he would say to McGregor in his post-fight press conference after McGregor lost to Poirier twice in a row.
And Diaz almost had Leon Edwards finish there. If he would have rushed him instead of taunting him, it probably actually could have happened.
If he didn't showboat, then he probably would have gotten the win there.
So Diaz is still fighting at a high level, but then as the showboating, I just don't think he gives a shit. Like he doesn't care about a title. I don't think at this point. Like
he's all about putting on a show.
So it's pay-per-view.
Yeah, and that's why everyone loves him. Yeah, I would love to see and Nate Diaz come out, and I don't think Nate Diaz is going to be as worried about getting put on the ground like McGregor would, because Diaz will happily go there. I hope they make it. That'd be freaking sweet. Just like I hope that they let John Jones go to the John versus Ngannou fight just in the front row. I think that'd be freaking sweet. But Jones in Vegas is never good for anybody.
It can't happen.
So if that happens, he'll probably be arrested, and eventually the UFC is going to have to do something about it. But anything else from you guys?
Nope, I'm all good, man.
No, news-wise, no. I got nothing extra.
All right. Thanks for listening, and everybody. Feel free to leave comments if you think our picks suck, or if you agree with us, or if we win you money, or if we lose you money. We didn't go over DFS lineups. You want to hit that?
Yeah, sure.
You can hit that, yeah.
Take us through a last-minute DFS lineup, JJ.
All right, let me pull it up. Get off my football one. All right, so my lineup, I went with Madalena, Jack Madalena. Obviously, we talked about him versus Pete Rodriguez. He's 9,200, second most expensive fighter on the card. I just think he's going to finish the fight. So obviously, when I'm building MMA DFS cards, that's what I look for. So I went with him. I went with Valdez versus Frivola. We talked about that a little bit, how he had finished 5 in a row. So I picked him over Frivola. I went with Topuria over Charles Jourdain. I went with Morales over Trevin Giles. And I went with Ngannou over Gane, which could cost me. And then I went with Juarez because her salary fit. And I don't like that because I don't know that she's going to finish that fight if she does win it. So I could definitely tinker with this and change it. But that's where we're at right now. I really focused on some of the explosive finishing fighters, try and score the big points.
Yeah, so same kind of situation with me. With a card that has so many pretty moderate to heavy favorites, it's really tough messing with those salaries. So first up, I went Brandon Moreno. I struggled with the pick a bit, but I think if it goes to decision, he can definitely rack up those points. Got 97 points against Figueiredo in the last fight that got finished in the third. Next up, I went Genaro Valdez versus Frivola. Talked about that one bit. I think he's able to finish the fight. Next up, really saved me money, and he's my dog of the night, so I had to take him. I went Andre Filio versus Michael Pereira. That could definitely end up hurting me, but that's what I did. After that, I went Francis Ngannou because I just think him at 7,800 is freaking insane. And if the fight wins, it's going to have to be by KO in like the first or second round. So that will be all the points. So I'm either really right or really wrong. Next up, I went Ilia Topuria. I think JJ had him in his lineup too.
Good.
I think he gets to finish. Worth that 9,400 salary. And then lastly, like JJ as well, I went Jack Madalena at 9,200. I think he can get the finish there and will pay off his salary. So that is my DFS lineup. And I'm assuming Casey didn't do one because he's a big bum.
That's a big old negative.
On you being a bum, or you doing one?
Me doing one. Yeah.
All right, you heard it here. Casey admitted to being a bum. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Feel free to like, subscribe, post your comments. Let us know if we helped you, hurt you, or whatever. All right. Peace.
See it.